Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, let's move that up. Let's grab that again. Come on, you can move over. There we are. You can see the Swiss. Let's move that out of the way. That needs to go down. Let's get the short-term chart. This market now, the stock market, seems to be like out of control. I mean, it really looks like it's out of control. Let's see, where are we at? Let's open up the other chart. Let's do this. Let's close that. And what I mean by out of control, they're flooding so much money in from the central banks now that sellers are totally. We used to call it sized out. In other words, they just come in bigger in size, and they just move the market up like as if it means nothing. And that's what's happened now with this free money universe. It just does not stop. Even we're seeing people on the financial networks that we think have common sense, and they're like, the Federal Reserve has to show that they're going to stop this on some level. They're destroying the credibility. So let me see if I can find it here. Let's get the currencies up. Oops, excuse me, currencies up. All right, let's do this. Let's get the chat line up also. There's the chat line. And which mouse is it? There it is. Let's get the currencies up there also at the same time. There we go. There it is. And there's the dollar index. You can see it's moving down a little bit. And let's take a look at the Swiss. You can see Swiss is on the J4X at the moment. And you can see same thing going on here on the Chicago Quant. It's heading down, just like the way the dollar is supposed to. And you can see J4X has it showing going down. So we got that pressure there. Our technical indicators are very clear there. Let's just double check our sound. I haven't even done that yet. There we are. Hey, FR33, how you doing? There we go. And so, combination of just central banks across the planet and the Federal Reserve in particular, especially when you have the Secretary of Treasurer, who used to be a Fed chair, says inflation, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I think that's a horrible thing to say. But that is the type of people running things right now. They don't have a lot of respect for anything in particular. Just power. They love power. Power is what they want. All right. So you can see here, dollars moving down. Same thing up in here with the Chicago Quant. Dollars moving down. What is a little curious is we saw this at the beginning yesterday at the start of the week. White line piercing the time manifold. So there is some issues going on there. FR says that dollar Swiss was indeed a dead cat bounce, like you predicted. The math is pretty clear about stuff like that. Every so often it will step a little out of whack, but overall the math is usually pretty accurate. 85% of the time it's going to be right. And it did exactly the same. I guess you could say we could see it did the same characteristics that we're expecting. And when you see these repeated characteristics occurring, well, then you know that good chances are, when you're 85 out of 100 consistent, you're going to see that. So, but thank you, FR. I appreciate that for the observation. Thank you. And trust me, you're allowed to easily spot when I do something wrong. Fire it out, because it's not logical really to be so accurate all the time. So, it's okay, to say, Doc, your math was a little off, and I'll probably have a good example of why it was off or how it was off or, something like that. Because again, we're not here to trade, we're here to make money. And that's the name of the game, really. So, all right, let's see, where are we at now with let's take a look at the euro. Now the euro is one of our subscribers asked about a shift from the FTSE to the euro, but I sent over both because wait till you see what's going on with the euro this morning, which was a little surprising. Okay, now it's perked back up again. At one point this morning, this thing was making a challenge to the sell side, and I was like, what is going on there? I guess that's what it is. I'm looking at the weekly, looking at how that weekly is trying to roll over there. That's what it is. And you can see here, let's widen this on the Chicago Quant. You can see here, it's barely moving in the right direction, giving us a volatility signal. So I sent that over for that particular subscriber to see that action. This is what has really got my eye right there. The weekly is still penetrating down, even with the sideways action there. So if this starts to head down, this could be the first weekly sell we've seen in this product for what? What's a fact check spreadsheet say? Was it 8 weeks? 9 weeks? 9 weeks. You can see there we're 9 weeks in a buy, and we're 3 days in a sell, and now it's trying to lift its head up to get into the daily buy. And at one point this morning it was down at the lows, of course, because that's why the line is there. And the end result is that it was actually pushing back, trying to stay out of the daily buy too. And I thought, wow, something's going on there. They're pushing hard on that euro. So that's the action. We'll keep an eye on that, see what goes there. Whereas on the cable, let's just take a look at it on J4X real quick also at the same time. Right there we are. So on J4X, you can see it's trying to lift up. You can see the white line down in here, trying to move up through the dashed line, just like our white line is moving through the zero line. And but that weekly signal here on our Chicago Quant was actually in the minus when I sent out that chart. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it, just so I know I'm not crazy. Well, I might be crazy, but that I did see what I thought I saw. Yeah, I think that's where it was this morning. It was just flirting with that zero line to a point where it was in that extreme. I was like, wow. Now, whereas this was heading down, and I threw the green dotted line in there, but this is what caught my eye. That's it right there. Can you see that? I don't think you can. Let me do this. Right there. That's what caught my eye, just like I was saying. So, we'll keep an eye on that, see what's going on here. You can see the daily has tried to, lift up in this area here. We'll see if that rolls over. I mean, it's jumped up so high so fast. Sometimes when you get that, you see how it goes sideways for a couple of days after that. If it goes sideways, it's going to put more pressure on that weekly. That's for sure. All right. I saw that thing. Let's see. Yeah, euro. I saw that. Thank you very much. Massive relief. Oh, okay. Cool. Was that you? All right. Wasn't sure. I just, when we have a natural tendency at Chicago Quant that if someone says, oh, I want to see a different chart and you want to switch it out, and at the same time the chart you've been watching has been active, we're really quick to send you just an extra chart. It's just because the idea is to make money. I mean, if you make money, then you're going to buy the service, and if you don't make money, you're not buying the service. So it's just it's a logical way to go. Super MFI, etc. are all showing buy signals also. MFI, moving. What is an MFI? Let me Google that. It's probably like an indicator, and I've moved so far away from the public indicators over the decades that I kind of forget sometimes what I'm going to punch in MFI indicator, or maybe it's major. Anyway, MFI indicator. Let's see what that is. Money flow index. Okay, good old money flow. I remember when that came out in the 80s. That was pretty cool. Yeah, money flow indicator. Oh, it's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I remember using that back in the 80s. Yeah. Yeah, I have fond memories when I think of some of this stuff, it's very cool. Yeah, I remember that. I myself became a little agnostic to it. It probably works the best in currencies and probably the least in stocks and so forth, just because I don't think it follows the derivative volume that's interfering. And so if the MFI would follow the option trading in the futures in the basket stocks, or the stocks that are in those indexes, I think it would be a much more accurate indicator. I think it was Thomson Reuters back in the old days, just Thomson. Thomson used to cancel one out to resolve it. Thomson was very good. It was smart for Reuters to buy Thomson because at the time Reuters was on the edge of going out of business, I think. And when they bought Thomson, Thomson had a lot of great indicators and tools. A lot of the specialists, the professionals on the trading floors used Thomson, and Thomson was expensive, but it was well worth it. It paid for itself easily. But thank you, FR33. That's something that we've forgotten about over the decades. The money flow. At one point, money flow was, who talked it up too? I remember at one point was, what was his name? William O'Neill of Investors Business Daily. He has a natural tendency to function that way. You like the New Jersey accent? Some people say I have a Canadian accent. It's really odd. Now, this morning, I am below the Mason-Dixon line in southern New Jersey. And so we actually have a southern twang. We speak like Southerners. I've seen I have seen and talked to Southerners who come to southern New Jersey, and they feel like they're in Mississippi. But thank you, Alan. That's pretty cool. So, yeah. They do that because of the rebel flags. There was at one time, the rebel flags were very big around here. Very big. Now, what's really odd is that in the Civil War, the South Jerseyites fought for the Brooklyn division, because I guess we were just such country bumpkins or something. I don't know. But I'm glad you enjoy it. Yeah, we're a real odd bunch. We have no major TV station. So we get New York TV in the north, we get Philadelphia TV in the south, and in the deep, deep last corner of the southern New Jersey here, we get also Baltimore TV, but we don't have our own TV because we're too close to the other networks. So they never allowed us to have a big VHF channel. So you never know what kind of accent you're going to get out of South Jersey. All right, let's see, where did we leave off? Oh, I wanted to look at cable, because I thought I saw cable acting extremely strong. Let me just double check the cable here. Get the right mouse. There it is right there. And there's the cable. Yeah, cable closing a buy yesterday, but we're getting these volatility signals. One in the front, one in the back. Let's see if that survives the day here. You can see that the line is really trying to lift up. And you can see the bounce right here off of the weekly. So if they start to get some action on the upside here, this could be Doc's normal fantasy of 145, 147 again. And that's something I get excited about every time I get into a daily and weekly buy on cable. The next number that appears in my head is 145. Well, usually it's 142, but we're already above that. So then the next one is 145 or 147. Again, Doc's really confident. I went on this explanation yesterday about the idea that now that they're back in the Commonwealth, there's a good reason to believe that that it's undervalued even more than ever. I always thought it was undervalued, but now that they're out of the European Union, they're definitely undervalued. Heading over to Turkish lira, see if they've touched our dots. No, they didn't. They got close. Got to the 80.54. You can see that. So close here. Me so close. See, look at that. Oh, wow. That is so close to the dots. I thought it was supposed to be 90 on those dots, but maybe it's the 80s. And you can see we're seeing some pressure here today on the dollar side of it. You can see the weekly is trying to roll over a little bit. And then let's go over to the Turkish lira through the euro and view it that way. Same situation, it's trying to roll over. But in this case here, the weekly is even much more firmer. But both of them are doing their daily thing, so you have to assume that there's definitely downside pressure there. what's that? 100% on the money flow index. How it works much better on the currencies. Yeah, that's because the derivatives are. I would have to say that out of in the 21st century, out of all the products that are traded, I would have to say that the currency market is probably the cleanest, freest market, even with the central banks being on top of all products. I still think that the currency market has some type of independence still, because it's a product that's needed. In other words, do you really need to own IBM or Apple? No. You don't go out the door thinking, "Oh my God, how can I function today if I don't own Apple Computer or if I don't own Microsoft? How can I function?" But when it comes to currencies, currencies, there are importers and exporters. They need that currency to pay for the product. They have to go into the market and actually transact. So it's a really clean market. I mean, I guess the second one would be the bond market, in the sense that you have major institutions across the planet that have enormous amounts of money, and they don't want to lose it. And so they can't stick it underneath their mattress, or they can't stick it in a bank account without some type of risk. So what they do is they buy bonds, government bonds, that guarantee it a little bit better than the banks. So I'd imagine that would be the second group that walks out the door every morning going, "I need to buy bonds. I have to buy bonds." But when it comes to the rest of the marketplace, nah, I don't think so. And I'd imagine, the third area in some aspect would be the commodities, where, companies need to have that inventory to produce their products that they're producing. So, let's see, where we go from here. Oh, I know, we just did the Turkish lira, so now what we'll do is we'll go and check out the Canadian. For sure. For sure. A lot of Canadians like to come to South Jersey. It's like the Florida to them. And then you can see here how sideways Canada has been. Just locked in that box, refusing to come out of it. We could even extend that box over to there now. Right there. Look at that. That box just refuses to go away. And you can see we're putting pressure on it, and it's and you can see the volatility signal right there. Let me just give this a refresh, just for the sake of trying to get a cleaner picture. Okay, they've knocked out the red dot, and we got a green dot, and it's trying to break below. I mean, talk about trapped in some type of tight range going nowhere. And then look at the weekly at the same time, like the Swiss. It's aiming towards the upside. And you can see over in the fact check spreadsheet, where's that, line 20? Let's move that over a little bit better. Let's see, right there. There we go. And you can see right there on line 20, there were 7 weeks in a sell right there, and then a few days in a buy. Was that 3 days in a buy? And now we're trying to roll over and join in with that weekly. We'll see what kind of weakness comes from that. Also agree that the GBP and the UK economy will improve vastly over time. Yeah, I mean, I talked about that yesterday. I think you were here at the moment. You might have tuned in later, but I was talking about the idea that location, location, location. I mean, you have the Great Britain sitting on the edge of the European Union. You have now, when they were part of the European Union, they weren't allowed to trade with the Commonwealth, which they had traded for I don't know, 40, 50 years, right? And so the Commonwealth has 2 billion people, right? Twice the amount of China. So everybody gets so excited about China. Why aren't they really, really excited about, the Commonwealth? And so you have, that's why it's really scary. They only trade about 2% of the currency a day, the world, of the yuan. And so it makes you nervous about what's all this cheerleading going on about China. Why does China seem to have? It's almost like the Chinese have done a really good job of marketing themselves, but when it comes to reality, it's nowhere near what the It's like the advertisement. You buy something that looks really, really great, and then when you buy it, you go, "Oh man, this is not what it was supposed to be." And so you got to wonder if that's not going on with the China situation. But when you look at the British pound, the GBP, and the Commonwealth, you start to realize 2 billion new customers, basically, or 100 and, was it 1.9 billion new customers by leaving the European Union, and they lose 400 million customers. And because they're on the doorstep of Europe, you got to figure they're going to pay what has to be paid to buy what they want from Great Britain. So how can it not be undervalued? That's what catches my eyes. How does not someone see that? I've been screaming that since they went into this Brexit Circus Act, and I don't get it. Why don't they see that? 2 billion people. That's a lot to be able to sell to with no problem, you know. And they have about the same income level as the Chinese. So what's the difference? Just because it's only a third of what the European Union has, it's still 2 billion. So you take the average European makes something like 31,000 euros, and the average Commonwealther makes something like 13,000 euros. Okay, so multiply that by 3, and that comes out to almost 40, right? 39 to be exact, right? 3 times 13 is 39. Well, that's 8,000 more than the European. So location in a positive way and a negative way on some aspects of that whole thing. That's my thinking. It's not complicated. To me, it's pretty much like the nose on our faces. So, I mean, if you can get excited about dealing with China, X amount of miles away, then what's the difference of dealing with the Commonwealth X amount of miles away? And, you get a better return out of the Commonwealth, it looks like to me. All right, that's where we are. That's what the logic is. It's got nothing to do with the math around here, but the math always seems to tell us that. So now there's Canadian, which is a Commonwealth country, and you can see it's moving along sideways at the moment. This action, I want to go over to the energies and the metals just to take a look at that action to see what's really going on there. And you can see here on the crude oil, just kind of sloppy, going sideways at a top in a daily sell from yesterday. The weekly is doing a little flirtation towards the lower end of the range. We'll see if that holds up over the next couple of days, or if they start to roll over there. And then let's see, where do we go from here? Oh, as a FX market is super glued by FX option strike prices. Yes, I've seen that, Alan. That's very true. That's where that little part of the central bank thing has been going on. But they've been doing that for a long time everywhere in those markets, and especially on the old-fashioned expirations where they were quarterly. They used to run towards those things. You're right about that. Now that's your nice input. Thank you, Alan. You're saying that June historically is weak. We used to think it was because of the summer months coming up. Everybody working hard, and then the summer months come up. People want to take vacations. Kids are out of school, and the traders go off on vacation. Is there really in the June quarterly? Yeah, I mean, it's awful hard to believe people don't use options to hedge some of their situations. In the currency market, I was part of the group that started the cash currency options in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Stock Exchange, and we were trading cash currency options, which was a little bit different. It was the same way as the spot is. Two-day delivery for European, 3-day delivery for Japanese yen, that type of thing, and it was, you weren't exercising a future, you were actually exercising the cash. And we used to see those big expirations have an effect, no doubt about it. Let's see, where are we here? Let's see, what else is there? Okay, and then let's see gold. There's gold. Gold trying to, I guess it was, what is that? It looks like it couldn't get into the sell because of the green dots. But today it's now flirting with it. Let's give that a refresh too at the same time, because we are seeing gold flirting with some. Oh, look at it. The red dots disappeared. Look at that thing. You can actually see the manifold moving up and down. Let's see if we can widen that for you. There we are. Yeah, and it's trying to push itself into the sell. I thought I put a red line in there earlier. Let me just go to the chart and see if I did that we sent out. Oh, I see. This is when we sent it out this morning. You can see there. Let's see which mouse is that. Let's go with this. When we sent it out this morning, you can see that the histogram and everything was plus. See, like that. You see, oh, there you are. You see that plus there. That was no more than an hour and a half ago. And they've put some pressure into the product now, where we're starting to break down. Now that a green dot has reappeared again. We just lost that green dot a few seconds ago. And you can see it here. There, over here on the right side there, you can see it 20, 28, 20, 24. They're pushing it up and down. And then see the green dot just disappeared on its own again. Minus 44 now. That green dot disappeared and the pressure is moving on to the gold again. 44, 36, 48. See that right there? That's the green line showing the pressure there. All right, so Canadian is moving down, which is making it more valuable, and crude oil is moving down, which is kind of odd. Usually it would be the other way, and gold too the other way. But we have gold and crude oil finding ways to go down this morning. Just a little bit, nothing major, but they're just trying to put the pressure on it. Now look at it, minus 16, and it's trying to lift up, and we got a green dot again. So very sensitive system, very up to date. All right, let's just take a look at the silver market. Now silver, I know that was in there. Yeah, you can see there, it it was reflecting that, and you can see the weakness here. And as Robin and I always say, this product, cannot get out of its own way. They put pressure on it constantly. And that's the July silver. Now we'll take a look at copper. Copper gave us a little warning this morning that it was plus at that time. Now check this out. Because I remember both of them. I was like, wow, look at copper trying to lift up. And show you that chart that we sent out. That was what we sent out this morning 2 hours ago. And now look at it. It's changing direction again. Good reason to tune into the webinar here in the morning. It gives you a heads up to be able to see our charts live there like that. Let me think. What else we got brewing? I guess that's about it. Now what we'll do is we'll jump over to back over to the currencies. Let's take a look at the ruble. I think Mr. Putin is going to play Biden like a flute. I mean, not like a flute, like a violin. Forget a flute. If anything, Biden's a wacko no matter how you cut it. So I have more respect for Mr. Putin than I have any for Biden. At least Putin can say, I'm fighting to take an empire that was corrupt and upside down in values, and trying to slowly he's trying to tame the Wild West, basically. Mr. Putin is trying to tame the Wild West. Now, obviously, spoils go to the victor. And so if he's one of the wealthiest men in the world from it, oh well, that's what it's about. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it rolls. Now you can see here the ruble is moving down. We keep on thinking that it should move down. There's another product that we think is undervalued. We really think that ruble should be in the 40s, not the 70s. Let's see, Tommy says, Nord 2 will be the major heated topic. You think? I don't know how. Biden has given it to him already. What's Biden going to do? Get on his knees and beg him not to turn it down? Biden is a numbskull. The man is a total numbskull. You should see the heat that's going on here in the States about it. He's cut out the pipelines here in the United States. He's canceling out, and he's giving permission for Russia to have pipelines. I mean, want to talk about a mind that is dysfunctional? Boy, who is Biden, and what is he up to? I mean, he's going nowhere. He's a conglomerized. No wonder the only way he could get elected is they have to steal the election, because the people didn't vote for him. That's for sure. All right. I mean, it was a landslide for Republicans, except for in 3 races. And what's really crazy is that where he won in those landslides, they bullet voted. what we call in the professional balloting system. Remember, I'm a political hack. I was a chairman of parties and things like that here in New Jersey and my community and so forth in my county, and they did bullet voting at 2 in the morning, which meant that they just voted for Joe Biden, but they didn't vote for any other Democrat. I mean, that's a classic, manipulation. So, for the media and everybody else to pretend that like Biden really won, the states pulled their electoral college votes, Congress just ignored them. So, I mean, no wonder Biden is such a numbskull. Oh my God. All right, let's take a look at the yen. But yes, I agree with you. The Nord thing is going to be really tough. I mean, what can he do? Can Biden really try to take it away from him after he gave it to him? Why not? I mean, the EU, and look, you know what? The EU, I think Germany really wants to be neutral. And I think they're overwhelmed by the numbskulls in the United States, And so I would assume that a more positive influence by Putin, he can do things for Germany that he can't do for his own country. Wouldn't you consider that, Alan, a logical possibility? That Putin can do more positive for Germany than he can for his own country. Because of the conflicting situations in the Russian Federation. He has to be the strong man to rule the Russian Federation, but to have commerce with Germany, he probably can be much more benevolent. And so he could be more of a positive influence than the Americans when you have these crazy socialists. The American Democrats really hate European socialism. They hate it because they feel like they've let them down. They want America to be socialist, and it kind of messes things up. Not that as much. I don't think he'll ever kick. I think it. Here, let me give you an example where my head is at. I kind of see it the way Tito saw it for Yugoslavia. I think, in other words, the Warsaw Pact, where Tito would train with the Warsaw Pact. Yeah, well, Turkey's even in some ways in a more odder situation because they've got Iran right next to them, and they've got Saudi Arabia right underneath them, and they're trying to placate both sides at the same time. And so, remember, Turkey at one time ruled pretty much all the Middle East, and Iran probably was just in lockstep with Turkey. And now, through their, structure of terrorism and, I guess I hate to call it terrorism, but it is terrorism. But I was going to use a more diplomatic word like foreign adventures instead of terrorism. Iran's foreign adventures probably has Turkey stuck in a rock in a hard place. One moment it's with Saudi Arabia, one moment it's against Saudi Arabia. One moment it's with Iran and Syria, and then the next moment it's against Syria and Iran. They're both, Turkey and the Russian Federation are dealing with events that they can't really deal with. In other words, they don't have much of a power. So I look at Germany as moving towards more of the Yugoslavia way, kind of like doing training and weaponry from NATO, and at the same time having stronger business connections with the Russian Federation, that type of thing. Does that make any sense to you? Oh yeah, we just saw that. They're both falling too. Check this out. Where's it at? Yes, where the dollar. Here's the dollar. Right there. There's the dollar. Against the Turkish lira breaking down, and you can see it hitting the manifold. And then here's the euro and the Turkish lira breaking down too at the same time, which is not always the same. Usually the Euro Turkish lira is the leader, but now they're both joining in today, and you can see here On the weekly, you've got the white line even piercing or touching the time manifold on the plus side. And so this is usually the leader. You know, we follow both of them because the Euro Turkish lira is very indicative of the direction of the Turkish lira. It's better than the dollar Turkish lira. But we don't get as many, doc trades out of it because of how sloppy it is at times. So, no, I agree with you there. But don't you see Germany moving towards that Tito, game plan in some aspect? Just a little bit, a little of the Tito game plan. Militarily tied to NATO, but at the same time dealing with, Russian Federation. And Tito was the same way. All his 7 canteens were, they were, training with the Warsaw Pact. At the same time, there was open business with the West. And, it was, Tito held that whole place together. And once Tito was gone, it broke down into independent states, and you had your issues and all like that. But, if they'd had a better governmental structure, I guess, But Tito did his best to hold it together. Remember, he was trying not to be pulled into the, he was the leader of the non-aligned movement. Remember that? All right, let's see, where do we go from here? We're looking at the yen. Let me just check out the yen again. Yeah, yen went in that daily sell yesterday, right there, and it seems to be up a little bit, but the pressure is still on right there. So you see what I'm saying about the Euro Turkish lira? Much more indicating type of tool. Then where do we jump from there? Oh, Mexican peso. Mexican peso. Where are you, Mexican peso? Usually you jump right out of this. It's US. There it is. Did I answer the question there with the Euro Turkish lira? I can go back to it if you need it. And you can see here the peso, as we said, it was going to head down, and it's doing it. We got the break here, and it broke down, and it's still a little bit lower, but not taking out the lows yet. That pattern really does reoccur with our math a lot on the Mexican peso. Then, let's see, where do we go from here? Then, let me think. We go to the South African rand. There we are. And that pressure is still on the downside, as much as it tried to get into the buy there yesterday. And the weekly is, I think the line was moving up more yesterday, and you can see it's moving back down a little bit. And that alone is trying to tell us that there's strength in the gold. Okay. I would kind of doubt that. I think they like superior. I think the Germans like the superior firepower. Unfortunately, I think that the Russian Federation has good weapons, but I don't think they have enough to satisfy the. Also, that would force Germany to have to depend even more. You want to do the Tito strategy, where you kind of play both sides, All right, so you can see here, this is just constantly slowly drifting south. And obviously the metals market keeps on drifting north. Let's go over and take a look at that again. And that's copper. Obviously not that one, of course. But that one right there, you can see that drift up. The drift up since May, since April. I mean, where's our weekly buy? There's our weekly buy back in the 17s in the middle of April. So, you can see that same action that we see over in the South African Rand, same drift down from the mid-April. Yeah, that's always a good good currency pair to watch with the metals complex. All right, everybody out there satisfied? Euro? Yeah, I did that. Okay, I keep on seeing Alan's. Let's see. Please check out Euro. I did that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yes, if anybody wants something, we can go back to it again. And Alan, if you want to see it a second time, I'll go back to it. There's no problem there. I always learn things when I go back to see something a second time and third time and fourth. Let's see. I do. Trust me. There's always something that jumps out. Oh, no problem, Al. Something always jumps out. You never know. It's amazing. We could go back to Turkish lira right now on the European side of it, and I know I'll look on that chart, and before I know it, I'll see something. I'll be like, oh, look at that. Or like this case here where that was the sell, right? And then there was the buy, and now we are flirting with the sell again. There you go. And change that to red also. At the same time, we're you can see this action here says a lot, and you can see it doesn't drift in and out of weeklies that fast. There, look at that. That was the last sell, and then went down, and then we got into buys in here, and then and then it finally caught up. It almost got into a buy right here. Those 3 weeks, it tried, and then it failed and almost went down and challenged the low there, and then you had that news about the central banker taking off with a few $1 billion or something like that to get back to the people they owed, or something like that. And so then now you look at it and you can see, okay, it's in the weekly buy and it goes up, and that's why we like to combine the daily. And then take a look at it again. Look at that. It was in a weekly buy since like March, I guess it was. Let's see what that was right there. Is that a minus? Nope, that's not a minus. So it went into the buy in March of 2000, right? Right there. There we go. So it went into the buy in February of 2020, and stayed in the buy on that long rampage we saw. It went like 57 weeks on the dollar euro, but this thing picked up the sell. I remember that. We started following it because of that, following the euro lira, because it went into the sell weeks beforehand. I think it did. Let me just double check. Let's go back to the dollar euro. Yeah, no, maybe. No, it was the same point too in December of 2020, and I think it was just double check that. Let's go back to the euro again. Yeah, so they both went into that weekly sell together, but sometimes this product will go a long way in one direction on the weeklies, and then I guess it was a sell there right before the bottom in here. And that was wild. I mean, we were in the we were the 6.5s. This thing traded the 8.5s. There's this euro, so it went to 10.5, right? So it went from 6.5 to 10.20. See, that's why I love going back and looking at things when people say, oh, you might have, did you look at the euro already, or you looked at the British pound? Can we look at it again? It's like, yeah, damn right. I want to see it again. Because you never know how much you're going to draw something out of it. You're going to see something new. In this case here, look at the power of this thing. The consistency, the conviction is amazing. Just amazing. Alrighties. What else we got going on here? So we'll go to something else, but if anybody wants to look at this again, no problems. choose whatever you would like to see. We'll go at it. And then let's take a look at the stock. I guess check out the stock indices. I'll tell you, so this next week or so is going to be really volatile. I think there's going to be some desperation. I think the central bank here in the States has to do something more responsible. People are starting to. You don't want what we were terrified of back in the old days before quantitative easing was the fact of losing credibility. We never wanted to see the Federal Reserve lose credibility, and right now it's doing its best to lose it. I think that's why Powell is starting to say some stuff separate from the administration. I mean, they cannot afford to lose, respectability. Let's see, what was I going to go look for? Not in the currencies, I guess. I think it was over here. Oh, stock indices. That's what it was. So it's like look at the NQs. Just they had taken this thing down. Look at this move. Let me show you the intraday move in this thing. I mean, right here. Let's use let's use the 693. Look at this. Before the webinar started, they took this product down from the highs of the day to the minus. That was like minus 20 for the day. And then someone hit a switch, and buyers just came in and sized everybody out. That is not normal trading. Trust me. That is not normal. That is central bank. That is what that is. That is central bank. There is no way in the world that you see how the lows, you keep on getting higher lows. I mean, traders like to see things come back down to a line somewhere to buy it again. Not just buy and then buy again and buy again and buy again. You know, that's why it was very easy to identify central bank trading in the very beginning before quantitative easing got rolling along, because I used to refer to it as stupid money. Who buys higher and then buys higher again and then buys higher again, night after night after night after night? It has to be central bank. Because nobody would be that foolish if they're managing money, because they want to be in business. They want to get paid. They don't want to, they want to blow the account out. They want to make money. So they're going to try to do the least stupid style of trading, right? They're going to try to do the smartest style of trading. But a central bank, if you're just buying because you're the central bank and you've been told to keep it firm and higher, then you go and lend more money to banks and institutions for free and say, hey, you know what, hold this money for the next 10 days. And so what they do is they go in and they go buy it, and they buy puts and sell calls, and they guaranteed themselves a win. They take the if you ever hear of Madoff, the one that did the pyramid that just died, right? At one time he was legitimate. He was the chairman of the NASDAQ. This index, he was chairman of it. He was the chairman of the NASDAQ stock exchange, which is the biggest stock exchange in the world now. Okay, he was chairman of that. And what he was doing is he was doing something called reversals and conversions. What happens is if you buy the product, let's say you buy a stock, you buy the put, and you sell the call all simultaneously. It's a tax transaction. So you can collect the dividend and sell the premium and protect the underlying product by buying the put. And the call pays for the put. And what happens is you make money. Okay, and then what happened was he started doing it like everybody else was doing it, and making money for clients. And when interest rates dropped from like 20% down to like 12%, he couldn't give them the big returns anymore. So he told them that they was going to freeze them at 12%, and they accepted it. The customers accepted it. But the problem was that when interest rates dropped to 10 and 9 and 8%, he couldn't give them 12% anymore. So then he changed the structure. So he was legitimate at one time. Well, this is when the central banks give money to the institutions and the hedge funds and so forth, they go out because it's not costing them anything. They can go out and put on the reversal conversions. They can go do that for free because they're not paying any. It's not like they're borrowing the money at 2% and they got to make 2% plus profits. Instead, the central banks are giving it to them for free. And so if they make 1.5% or 2% or half a percentage point, they don't care. They're not paying for the money to begin with. It's for free. And then, the banks can go, okay, we want to, the Federal Reserve can say, okay, I want my money back. And when they do that, they unwind it. But they didn't lose any money because they have it hedged. And so that's what's going on here, traders. And when you see money move like this into something, it's the Federal Reserve, because there's no way money managers are going to do stupid trades. I mean, it's bad enough they do it naturally. They don't want to do it, they do it accidentally constantly. But they don't want to do it purposely. And so they're not interested in doing this stuff purposely. So you can see from the action that, let me go back to that real quick. Where was it? So you can see from the action that this doesn't make any sense. None. So, all right. Now, let's go over and take a look at them on a daily basis. This is just an intraday basis. I mean, really, look at the ratio. This thing's up 73 points. This thing's up 8.5. Come on. The ratio is usually 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. Even 3 to 1 makes it 29. So, I mean, 29 minus 73, even if you double in price, it's 64. It's still overvalued. In other words, the VIG doesn't even make sense. All right. Let's go back to the daily now. We'll minimize that. And there you can see, up towards the high end of the range. We're in a daily buy. We're fighting to get into the weekly buy this week. That'll be interesting to see if this thing rolls over. Now, what's really catching my eye is this. The S&P 500 is playing with the weekly sell. And it's not really picking up any real, appreciation in value. Now, this is the one that's really got my eye. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's playing with the daily sell and the weekly sell. And it's so rare for this product to even remotely. Look what it did last time it did it. We went into a daily buy, 3 weeks ago, and we went into a weekly sell. It lasted barely a few hours from a Friday to a Monday. Climbed right back up, still in the daily buy. Finally, did a little correcting in here, and then it had this crazy spike, and by the end of the day or whenever, it went down in its value. And now we're flirting. There's the, no, that's not it, because it's got a double dot. And so I guess the daily buy, oh yeah, here's the daily buy was right here yesterday. And here we are, just unchanged. And this thing is trying to go into the sell. And the Dow has truly been a leader in this whole marketplace. It really has. As much as you would think that the NASDAQ was, the NASDAQ has some of its top 5 companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Average now. So there's a lot to be thought about what you're looking at. Then I went over and looked at this, the Russell 2000, the most speculative of the 4 stock indices. And you can see it's been in a daily buy. We're trying to get in a daily buy since yesterday. It did a volatility signal yesterday. Let's just update it. Okay, now it's wiped out the red dot, and it's got here. They must have done that overnight. We don't have anybody following it, so we don't really pay attention to it. So it closes in the daily buy. It's higher here, and you can see it's trying to climb into the weekly buy now. After being in a weekly sell from here, it's reached that area and superseded it. The daily buy kept you safe here, just as the daily sell got you short for this nice little slide right here. And so that is the story, traders. That's the story. All right, what else we got going on here? Let's see what the Bitcoin's doing. When we look at stock indices, yeah, it went into a buy there, and yesterday it was in the sell because it's on the fact check spreadsheet in a daily sell, as you can see right there, and 9 days in a weekly sell. Let's get that line in there for the next time we come and peek at it. Right there. I have been hearing concerns that people think that the central bank is going to find a way to injure the cryptos. I just don't believe it'll succeed. They may hurt it on a short term, but I think that the more the central banks act irresponsible and treat inflation and money like it's just paper and nothing more than that, is when the cryptos will even have more validity. So you're looking at a 50%. Right here it's sitting at a 50% drop from its all-time high, and it's still trading in the 33,000 area. A lot to be thought about. A lot to be suggested. There it really is. All right. What else can we say about any of this? I guess that's about it. Anybody want to see anything before we cut out of here? I'm trying to think of a title. I think today's title really is free money hurts the markets. I think that's what it really comes down to. I think that is the real thing that bothers the daylights out of me. And again, as I said earlier, we don't want to see the loss of credibility. Anyway, this is Doc from North America Traders. Catch you on the flip side. Tomorrow will be Happy to Hump Day. We'll see how these markets play themselves out going into, NZD. And we were, for months I was talking about NZD, how it was consistent, Let me just take a look at that real quick before I start singing. It was a real consistent product there, right there. Yeah, it's gotten that's what I was saying. I think I said that in the webinar. That and the Aussie. Notice the Aussie's the same way. The Aussie's gotten choppy also. Alrighty. Thank you, Alan. Talk to you later. Everybody, FR33. Who else was in here today? Guess you two guys. That's fine. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our cyber trading friends. Ta-ta for now. Aloha.